liminality and the desire to escape has been a big topic for me in the last few weeks. And no, it's not just because of the Backrooms movie. I was enjoying liminal spaces before that one photo got popular and the Kane's pickles? Ca- Kane Pixel. Kane Pickles. That's kind of that's kind of funny. The Kane Pixels adaptation on YouTube kicked in. Actually, maybe it wasn't like a few weeks ago. I've been enjoying liminal spaces for like the longest time, as long as I can remember. And my fascination for liminal spaces has just been at an all-time high recently. But what is a liminal space if I had to pull the dictionary definition? Well, a liminal space is a transitional physical area or psychological phase that bridges a starting point and a destination. I don't like that description. I like to just say big room with a bunch of stuff that feels out of place. So for easy's sake, it's just a room, but not any room, an empty room with some stuff in it. Or maybe a maze of endless stretching rooms that make you feel isolated or maybe even nostalgic. These can be party rooms that you used to see at a kid's birthday party, or those showers that you would see before you get into like the pool, or maybe a hotel lobby with endless stretching hallways. God, I remember those as a kid. It was just such a fascinating feeling just looking down those hallways. There's such a bizarre feeling and temptation of disappearing into these spaces, and it really fascinates me how they come into existence, just seeing these spaces that are man-made, and all of a sudden what used to be filled with life just feels so hollow and void, almost like an abandoned strip mall, except it's not really abandoned, it's just empty. Everything's still working, the power is on, the stores are like open, but like all the shelves are like empty. There's like nothing there. Maybe there's like some music playing, but it's just like it's so desolate. God, I really and this is why I really wanted to explore like an abandoned mall, but I can't really do that now, otherwise I might get arrested. But like, just like going to those like malls and everything is just kind of like empty, and it feels so isolated and like bizarre, and just exploring those places is just such a amazing feeling. Like, God, like I remember back in my college days, I used to like explore like the campuses when it was like relatively late at night, so there wasn't a lot of people on campus, and I could just kind of walk around the hallways and feel like I'm exploring like this abandoned building that's still powered on, and it was just such a insane way for me to escape the stresses of school. God, it was amazing. So yeah, I kind of want a dedicated video talking about liminal spaces, especially because of recently and how I've been indulging in them a lot more. And it's one of the topics that I do want to talk about, as I think this will be one of those Ethan's Little Talks where I do talk about some random stuff thrown into this episode. It's not just going to be about liminal spaces, so get ready for a real yap sesh. So yeah, life has been a lot recently, and I'm gonna be talking about that in general soon, but like right now, I need a break from it all. Like life just feels so like overwhelming and uncomfortable. But I hear life saying, you're 21 years old, right? You're literally just starting your new life. It's literally just beginning. You're gonna be trying these new things and gaining all sorts of experiences. But like, yeah, that's great. And I get it. This is my time to grow up and make the most of my early 20s, and I'll be uncomfortable and I will feel burnt out, but in the end, it'll all be worth it. And I'm like, great, yeah, life, life is so awesome for me right now. And yeah, I get what you're saying, and I believe you. But it's kind of hard to be reincarnated into a new life when you're carrying all your old gear from your previous life. All the problems you thought you left behind, all the childhood traumas and pain you've endured, you just can't seem to let go and move on. And that's when the desire to escape from your problems really kicks in. Not wanting to die, that's completely different. No, I want to live. But wanting to exist in a world where nothing matters and you can be at peace with yourself. almost like meditating in the mountains, just away from everything and really getting in touch with the spiritual energy around you. That's kind of what liminal spaces are to me. The beauty, the beauty of liminal spaces, or for a more trendy term, the back rooms, has always been appealing to me. Not because of the spooky entities that chase you, which, don't get me wrong, I don't mind a good chase every once in a while from the spooky backrooms entities, but at some point it gets so overused and it kind of becomes like any generic horror chasing game where it's literally just whole W simulator. But what really captured my love for the backrooms was the beauty of liminality and being in these bizarre worlds that feel like they were made by people, but at the same time feel so cosmically absurd that it's impossible to think that this was made by humankind. It's almost as if an AI chatbot were to generate these rooms and then kind of mimic what human architecture is like, and then we get these kind of results. And it's just such a fascinating feeling for me to witness. It's such an insane beauty that it can be unsettling with, like, you know, a creepy, not really a creepy forest, but like maybe like an abandoned strip mall almost, or as peaceful as you can imagine, like, you know, chilling in like the pool rooms. Like I find the pool rooms to be very therapeutic and relaxing, which, speaking of pool rooms, this leads me into wanting to talk about a game that caught my attention recently, and that was a walking simulator known as Pools. So Pools is a liminal space walking simulator where you walk around what's known as the pool rooms, which is a pretty popular level in the backrooms lore. It was like $10 on Steam, and let me tell you, that game left me absolutely speechless. Now I bet you're saying, and you're pointing and you're laughing at the screen saying, "Oh my god, you paid $10 for a walking simulator? What a loser!" You're probably not saying that, but for starters, there are worse ways to spend your money, definitely. But on top of that, it's not really a game. It's not really something you play for fun. It's more of an experience. Almost like walking around an art gallery in a way. It's kind of like when you go on like those virtual tours and you can like walk around the house like, oh wow, it's so cool. But you know, instead of being able to actually physically be there, it's more of like a digital experience to actually kind of experience these kind of stuff. Oh my god, that just triggered a core memory. I remember when I had to do like medievalism and like mediums, I guess, for like like a extracurricular activity, I think. Or it was like an elective. Yeah, elective, that's the right term. And I did a study how basically digital preservations of like media for medievalism is a great way to like re-experience historical events without having to worry about the preservation of certain stuff. God, that's an amazing connection right there. But yeah, walking around the pool rooms was honestly such an amazing experience, even though it wasn't like physically walking. But you want to know like the best part about the game was that it ran at a flawless 60 FPS on the Steam Deck, and it didn't look chopped. Like, this game absolutely immersed me into this mysterious world where things just didn't seem right. I was really left speechless. I would play the Pools game after work just to kind of like de-stress and like escape from reality. And oh my god, dude, I did not think that this game would like actually like leave this much of an impact on me. For a walking simulator of all things, there's no entities, there's nothing, just looking at these like absurd like these structures, and it's such a different experience than watching it on a YouTube video, because here I have full control of where I want to go, and I don't think I've even explored like 50% of the game. Like, I took all the easy routes, to be frank, and like there's just so much more that I could explore, and I'm honestly looking forward to coming back to it. But god, being able to play this game and just escape from my struggles of life and my past was honestly such a refreshing feeling. And I honestly want to play more of these like liminal walking simulators. Like, there's this one backroom, not back, I guess I'll call it backrooms, called Dreamcore. and it basically expands on the idea of not really. I wouldn't say this one took inspiration from pools, but it expands on it in the sense where it actually dives into more liminal spaces like hotel lobbies and the. Oh my god, the mall, the liminal mall, dude. Oh my god, I want to walk around that one so badly. I think it's on sale, but I already bought pools and I'm kind of a broke boy, dude. Like all my Steam games right now are like on sale, like on my wish list because of the summer Steam sales. And I'm just like, brother, you're poor. You're poor. You got to spend your money elsewhere. And I'm like, dude, but this would be so good for my mental health. And I'm like, no, dude, no. One day, maybe next year. I don't know. Assuming my liminal space phase doesn't like die out, but like, gosh. Man, I really like Dreamcore and what I saw for that game, and it's just like, ah, the liminal spaces, man. They really give you that sense of being able to escape into a reality where everything just feels right. However, you can only run from your past so long until it finally catches up, and when it does, boy, can it do some damage. I'm gonna level with you all on this. Recently, well, I'm gonna try and talk about this in a logical, mature manner. As truth be told, I'm in a very emotionally distressed state right now, and I don't want to say something I'll regret. I pretty much said everything I wanted to on like a piece of paper, all the rage and sadness that I felt, but something really bad happened last week. Something happened within my relationship, and truth be told, it on a piece of paper, it's not the biggest deal in the world. It was a huge overreaction on my end, and she said that I was totally valid in what I was feeling, and that I didn't have to apologize. It wasn't really my fault, and I'm not in the wrong. But my anxiety and my self-esteem was so bad that it caused me issues at work. Heck, I mean, it almost cost me my job. And since then, I pretty much talked with her, and maybe I spammed messaged her a bit too much about just what I was feeling, and I just not being able to pick a lane until I eventually decided, you know what, this isn't healthy, this isn't right, this isn't fair. So I've stepped in, I stepped back. Like, I've taken a break from the relationship for the time being. As much as it like really hurt, I know this kind of stuff is healthy to just kind of step back and fix some issues, because it's not fair to have her deal with these issues. As much as she wants to be there for me, I know she can't really provide that right now, and she's doing her own thing right now. Like, our relationship is kind of like a slow steady. We're just kind of doing our own thing right now, and I see her just kind of living her life, and like a part of that makes me a bit insecure in a way, even though I'm living my life. It's such a complicated thing, and something that I don't really want to get too much into, but I feel like I wanted to set some context as to what I want to get into next. And it's mostly just the concept of, when I use the back rooms and liminal spaces to escape from my issues, I can only escape for so long. And I've been trying to do like coping methods and strategies that I thought was working, but everything just kind of boiled over in that moment, and it cost me a lot, and it made me realize just how bad I let things get. It's like Joker said, all it takes is one bad day to reduce the sanest man alive to lunacy. And I think that's true. For me, my unresolved trauma being shoved into her was not fair at all. And I, like, the voices got so loud telling me that she hates me, she never wants to see me again, that I'm annoying, that I'm broken, that I'm overreacting, that I'm a horrible person, that she never loved me to begin with. And I know deep down in my heart that's not true, but it's so hard to believe that when the voices just keep telling me that, and my anxiety gets so bad and I can't process everything. And I mean, there's only so much she can do, and I need help. I want help. So I've actually enrolled into counseling. Not saying that these videos haven't been helpful for processing my trauma, but I've tried doing so many things to try and fix my mental state. And while it worked to a degree, it's not enough. Now, what's great about the steps that I've done is that it's allowed me to become more self-aware and what I actually want to like get out of counseling. And I think the big thing that I really want is to have that one person that I can go to who can give me actual professional advice and can keep track of all of my stories and then help me walk through my anxiety, my stress, my low self-esteem, my overthinking problems, and help me through my childhood trauma. So it's honestly kind of nice that I'm finally taking this more seriously, because in the past I have tried doing it before, but it didn't really work out. I wasn't very committed, and like the free options just weren't really working for me. And I just thought, hey, you know what? Logically speaking, I know what I'm doing, but you know, I'm a hypocrite, and emotionally, the stuff that I talk about is so hard to follow. Heck, I would be surprised if anyone actually listens to what I said and somehow manages to follow through. I mean, they got more willpower than I do. Yet, despite all that, after everything that went down, I realized that if something as small as that incident could break me and almost costed me everything that I've worked so hard to make, then yeah, I had to take some serious action. Not just for her, not just for my career, but for myself. I mean, I made a lot of people worry, and it wasn't fair to any of them. You know, I'm an adult now, and you know, I gotta be professional. I gotta start acting like one, even though I'm childish at heart. But I gotta take care of myself. I gotta be prepared. I gotta be better, but not in a sense that it's my perfection talking where I constantly believe I have to be better. No, it's better in a sense where if I don't improve my mental health, my life is gonna get worse. And it might just be downhill from here if I don't get it resolved. So it's something that I actually need to get sorted, even if it might cost me quite a lot, financially speaking. But then again, money doesn't buy happiness or something like that. The point is that I've been sailing in a boat that hasn't been properly maintained in like the last 5 years or so. Like something has to change. Something has to be done. So I tried to not dive into too much detail as possible, and maybe I did in my rambles, and I don't want to throw blame at anyone. Like nobody here is the bad guy. No one here, nobody here is like there's nothing like super bad. There's no like abuse or anything like really. It is kind of like in the grand scheme of things, a big nothing burger. Nothing like criminal or anything bad happened. It's just right now is a very emotional time for me, especially because I've just been so in over my head, and also I'm not going to disclose what happened, but something personal did actually happen in my life other than this relationship thing, and it's really put me on edge, and it hurt. I bet you're wondering why I'm making this video then, because you know, for me, it isn't about the views. It's about being able to journal my thoughts, and I know people relate to these talks, and I think these kind of stuff also, you know, help people relate a little bit more to see that vulnerable side. But I'm not going to disclose the super bad thing that happened. If you're a close friend of mine, you can probably ask, but you know, at the same time, I kind of wanted to vent about this frustration. You know, it's also funny because like I actually do have like a version of like these little talks I do on like my Snapchat stories for like my close friends. No, you will not be getting my Snapchat. And I found that it's like a great way to talk to people without having to actually bother someone. You could just tune in into my actual issues and choose to listen or not. Which, yeah, I struggle to call people sometimes. I feel like I can't just call people out of the blue. And, you know, I feel like that's something that I kind of miss. But people are just busy living their own lives. They don't have time for like one-on-one calls half the time or like 1 hour call sessions. You know, it really makes me wonder about the desire to, you know, be happy and joyful in times like these where everything just feels like crap. I mean, yeah, I want to feel my feelings. I want to cry. I don't want to do substance abuse and numb the pain. But at the same time, I also want to smile at least a few more times during all this. And it's funny. I think a viewer wanted me to talk about this in some form or another. Oh, yeah. How does one find joy in all the suffering? Not necessarily happiness, but to be joyful. And I gotta be honest with you, I don't really know. Like, one moment I'm depressed and I feel like my world is falling apart, and the next I'm singing One Direction and having the greatest time of my life. Sometimes in my experience, it's the simple things that bring me joy in life. The love I put into my job, the love I felt, and truth be told, still feel for my partner, or at least on break partner. I don't even know what we are anymore. All I know is that she cares about me, and I don't want to mess it up because of my anxiety. Point is, simply enjoying the present moment instead of thinking about the past and the future is nice. Though in my case, it's a nice treat because I always think about the past and the future, and my anxiety goes crazy. I I'm really hoping through therapy I'm able to learn better coping strategies for my anxiety and my low self esteem. Like, the thing with me is like logically I know what's wrong, but I just need that one person to like basically tell me what's going on, and then I could figure something out through my cloudy brain. But I don't think the secret to being happy is, living in delusion, but to accept that life may suck, but you get to choose how you want to live it. And for me, I want to be happy. I've been saying it for a while now. I want to live my life, but god dang, these feelings and emotions they be hitting like a train. And I don't want to cry anymore. I don't. I don't like crying. But god, maybe I just haven't cried in so long and now it's all starting to downpour, and it's hard. Like genuinely, it is really hard right now. I mean, these are uncomfortable times. I'm trying to build the future that I want to build, and I got to deal with all of these past traumas and future issues that are arising. And it's like sometimes I feel like I'm taking on more than I could chew. Like, I'm trying to do all these adult responsibilities, and figuring out my way through all that is difficult. Kind of feel like Spider-Man. I mean, I've always related to Spider-Man. I feel like a lot of people relate to Spider-Man and the struggles to do the right thing despite all the odds turned against him. Man, you know, gosh, it's amazing how I can talk about backrooms in one paragraph and then talk about relationship drama and depression in the next. Oh, speaking of movies, can I quickly talk about Obsession? Like that one horror movie that's been absolutely ranking it recently, and how that's easily become one of my favorite horror films of 2026. Okay, huge spoilers. All right, I'm sorry if you haven't seen it yet, but oh my god, this movie was a masterclass of how an insecure man can be an absolute villain who takes advantage of their crush and uses them to gets what he wants through a wish he thought wouldn't work. It perfectly describes the loneliness epidemic and how cowardice and insecure some men feel, and the actions they would take if they had the chance to basically just used and abused Nikki. Like, god. And then it's just like the way the actors absolutely sell the roles and just makes everything feel so real and visceral. Like, god, like the horror not coming from jump scares, but like the psychological torture and how messed up and real this like how obsession can like actually be is just horrifying. I mean, like, come on, the fact that Nikki is like still conscious throughout all of this and is actively fighting to regain control of herself. Oh my dude, I would want to die too, man. Like, that is just pure nightmare fuel. And like literally how Bear legit just becomes the main villain of the movie through his cowardice. Like, oh my god, man. Like, I chef's kiss. I can't glaze this movie enough, man. Like, this movie was like the first half of it was slow, but afterwards it just started getting so good near the end. I'm just like, wow. And then, like, it weirdly enough, it kind of changed like my worldview and just the idea of how honest and scared intentions can seriously screw up your life in a way you couldn't imagine if you're not, confident or assertive, if you're not able to speak up. And like, in a twisted way, it kind of makes me think about my relationship, how I seeked her validation. I suffered from low self-esteem and insecurity, that I have trust issues when it comes to this stuff, and how everything blew up because I overreacted. I panicked, and through hindsight, I was valid in how I was feeling and how I responded, and it made me realize the boundaries that I want to set in a relationship. But at the same time, it's like, gosh, my fears and my insecurities like really set me down a path, and it really gave me that wake up call that I just really been needing. So just, gosh, it was such an amazing, gut wrenching movie. God, oh my God, I highly recommend it. Highly recommended, even if I just pretty much spoiled like a lot of it, because it is like an amazing psychological horror romance. Gosh, like, I mean, if you don't like horror movies, that's fair. But like, honestly, there's just so much that you can like dissect from this film, and like I've been watching a lot of commentary and like videos just talking about it. Like, I ain't no LARPer, bro. I'm like getting in, like I am becoming obsessed with Obsession. It is like actually like I don't know. I haven't felt this way since like I guess the Amazing Digital Circus episode 9, where it's like I'm not really anticipated, but I'm just like blown away. Like, wow, dude, no way. And honestly, like psychological horror, that's probably like my favorite type of horror, where it's not just back to back FNAF jump scares that become predictable, but ones where you let your mind really feel the terror and the fear of what you're witnessing. No different than how the Backrooms instills fear of the unknown and makes you go crazy. Yeah, you see what I did there? I brought everything back full circle. Talk about smooth transitions. Am I right? I promise there's cohesion in these talks. It's not just random. Okay, I've been talking for way too long. Where's my water, bro? I'm thirsty. Let me just get a glass of water. I'm not cutting this part out. You're gonna just watch me sip imaginary water real quick. Now that's your 5 second ad break or something like that. I don't know. I'm kind, I'm kind of just yapping at this point because I'm nearing the end of my half baked script. I'm gonna level with y'all. I made the script at the last minute. I'm making this video last minute. Cause yeah, the week was just so bad. I didn't have time to think about anything, and I felt like, given my emotional state, I didn't want to just make a video about me crying about my situations and whatnot. Like, I don't want these videos to just be like me like full on ranting and complaining, because that is driven off of emotion, and I do want to approach these little talks with, cohesion and level-headedness and maturity in some regards. Like, even right now, like I'm an emotional wreck right now, but I can still talk properly. I can still, you know, enunciate what I'm trying to get through. And I think overall, like, especially, I've learned a lot of things in the last week, and the steps that I'm finally willing to take to actually better myself. And just overall, like, the journey that I've been on so far, it's been a long ride. And it's funny how I can always center everything back to like the back rooms and liminality and that desire to escape, but I can't escape my problems for so long. And maybe that's the big takeaway from all this, that my desire to escape from my problems mainly stem from my deep-rooted trauma that has gone unchecked for so long and caused me even more issues IRL for the life that I'm trying to build. And sure, I can escape and feel a sense of peace. I can only be comfortable for so long until the voices finally catch up to me. And at that point, you're left fighting. And fighting can be difficult sometimes. Who am I kidding? It's difficult like heck, man. So I guess if there's anything that you can take away from this long-winded ramble, is to not just fully escape from your issues, but to actually face it head on. And if you can't face them head on, have friends or people who you can trust. And if you really can't find anything, then seek professional help. I mean, that's what I'm doing. Yeah, it's gonna probably cost me an arm and a leg, and my bank account's about to go down like crazy. But you want to know what? I think I'd rather get my money down and get my health up than get my money up, and I freaking, I don't know, jump off a cliff or something because I can't take it anymore. And I don't want that option. I want to live. So I hope there's something that you can take away from this kind of ramble. And I'm not sure what I'm going to talk about in the next episode. I don't know. I'll probably figure something else to yap about because I do want to tell more stories. I think I might know one story that I can tell that I haven't told yet, and maybe I can make a whole video off of that. Maybe make sure it's like 30 minutes long or something like that. I don't know. I reached the 30-minute mark. I can clock out. I'm done. I've yapped for long enough. There's no cohesion in this whatsoever. Yeah. That's all I got for today. I'll maybe catch you all next week, assuming if I'm consistent. Ciao.